Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to take complex information, break it down, and give you the core insights you need.
That's right, making you instantly more informed without all the heavy lifting.
And today, our mission is really focused. We're diving deep into autosuggestion.
Hmm.
We've got source material here, a chapter actually, that calls it a vital step for achieving goals.
And we're going to unpack that. Look for the practical takeaways, maybe some surprising bits too.
Exactly. Treating it less like some abstract idea and more like a mechanism.
A tool you can actually use. The source argues it's foundational if you're striving for something.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. What is autosuggestion, according to this chapter?
Well, fundamentally, it's defined as all the suggestions and self-administered stimuli that reach your mind.
Through the five senses, right?
Exactly, through the senses.
Yeah.
So in simple terms, it's self-suggestion, talking to yourself, essentially.
But it's positioned as more than just chatter. It's the communication link, the bridge between the conscious mind
Yeah, what you're aware of thinking.
and the subconscious mind, that deeper part.
Right. And that link idea is pretty critical here. It's how conscious intentions supposedly get passed down.
Passed down to where they can really take root and, influence things.
Precisely. Influence your actions, your beliefs, without you always being aware of it.
And the thoughts that dominate our thinking, the positive ones, the negative ones, the chapter says they use this autosuggestion pathway.
Yes, that's the mechanism. They shape the subconscious through autosuggestion.
Now, here's something really interesting. The text claims that pretty much no thought gets into the subconscious without this autosuggestion filter.
Except maybe it hints from some other undefined source, but the main route is autosuggestion.
Which really puts the focus on our own mental processing, doesn't it?
It does. It frames the conscious mind as a sort of gatekeeper, an outer guard.
Filtering everything coming in through our senses.
Yeah, selecting what gets passed on, what reaches that deeper subconscious level.
Okay, so if the conscious mind is the gatekeeper,
Then the implication, and the chapter states this quite boldly, is that you have absolute control over what reaches your subconscious.
absolute control, that's a strong statement.
It is. But then it immediately adds the caveat.
That most people don't actually use this control.
Right. They don't exercise it. And the text even links this failure, this lack of conscious
To
filtering.
poverty. Wow, okay.
Yeah, it draws a direct line, suggesting that letting negative or limiting inputs dominate the subconscious holds people back.
Which leads into that analogy they use, the garden.
Ah, yes, the fertile garden of the subconscious. It's a powerful image.
If you don't actively plant what you want, the desirable crops, positive thoughts.
Then the weeds, destructive negative thoughts, will just naturally take over. They'll flourish in that fertile ground.
So autosuggestion in this metaphor is the gardening tool.
Exactly. It's how you consciously cultivate that inner garden, planting creative thoughts, planting your goals.
It really emphasizes personal responsibility for your inner state then.
Absolutely. It's not passive, it's active cultivation.
Now, how does this connect back to things mentioned earlier in the source material, like the desire chapter?
Good question. It connects directly. Remember the instructions about writing down your desire.
And reading it aloud twice a day, visualizing.
Yes, that whole routine, the reading aloud, the visualization, especially visualizing possession of the money or goal.
That is autosuggestion.
That's exactly what the chapter says. It is the practical application. You're deliberately sending that desire, mixed with belief, to the subconscious.
So it's not just wishing, it's a specific technique.
A technique of communication with your deeper mind. And visualization is a huge part of that self-suggestion.
And it also mentions the mastermind concept briefly, from organized planning.
It does. It's just that's another place where autosuggestion is at play, maybe implicitly.
How so?
Well, consciously choosing your environment, surrounding yourself with people focused on similar goals. That also feeds suggestions into your mind, reinforcing your own focus.
Creates a sort of positive feedback loop, maybe?
Kind of, yeah. Shaping the external to support the internal.
Okay, but here's a really crucial point the chapter hammers home. Just saying the words isn't enough.
Not at all. This is vital. Simply reading affirmations, even famous ones like Kue's.
Day by day, in every way.
Right. Repeating that mindlessly, without feeling, the chapter says it's ineffective.
Why?
Because the subconscious apparently only responds to thoughts that are mixed with emotion or feeling.
Emotion is the key ingredient.
It's the catalyst. Plain, unemotional words just don't have influence, according to this text. Belief is highlighted as the critical emotion.
So you have to feel it, believe it.
Yes, the words need to vibrate with belief, with feeling. That's what the subconscious understands.
And the chapter acknowledges this might be hard at first, controlling emotions.
It does. It says, don't get discouraged if it's difficult initially.
Because influencing the subconscious isn't easy. It has a price.
The price of everlasting persistence. That's the phrase used.
No shortcuts.
None. And it directly asks the reader, is your goal the money consciousness or whatever it is it worth this persistent effort?
Forces you to evaluate your commitment level.
Exactly. Are you serious about this or just playing around?
Then the focus shifts a bit. It says wisdom or cleverness alone isn't usually enough to get and keep wealth.
Right. Except that maybe in rare cases, it positions this auto-suggestion method as something different.
Independent of luck, like the law of averages.
Yeah, it claims it's a universal principle. And if it doesn't work for someone?
It's not the method's fault, but the application.
Correct. The failure lies in how the individual applied it, suggesting they should try again, persist.
And the effectiveness really hinges on concentration.
Deep concentration, the ability to focus on that desire until it becomes, what's the phrase?
A burning obsession.
Yeah, that's it, a burning obsession. That intensity fuels the emotion needed.
So how do you practice that concentration?
It links back to step 1, defining the exact amount of money, or the specific goal.
Be precise.
Very precise. Then there's an exercise. Close your eyes, focus only on that amount or outcome until you can see it clearly in your mind.
Visualize it vividly.
Yes, visualize its physical form. And do this daily. It connects this again to the faith chapter, seeing yourself already possessing it.
Okay, and this leads to a significant fact mentioned.
Yes. The idea that the subconscious will accept orders given with absolute faith.
Even if you have to repeat them.
Even if repetition is needed, it acts on faith. This leads to the idea of a legitimate trick.
A trick, what does that mean?
It means using belief, absolute conviction, to convince your subconscious that the money, the goal, is already yours.
Yeah.
That it's just waiting for you.
You trick your subconscious into believing it's already happened.
Essentially, yes, by
Right.
acting and believing as if.
And the expected outcome of this trick.
That the subconscious will then start generating practical plans to actually bring it about.
So the subconscious becomes an active partner in finding the how.
Exactly. It becomes a source of solutions, of plans.
Which means you need to use your imagination, right? To think about how you could achieve it.
Yes, imagine practical plans. But crucially, don't wait for a full plan before you start visualizing the end result.
Start visualizing the possession first.
Yes, visualize the outcome with faith, expecting the plan to come from the subconscious,
And how do these plans appear?
often as flashes of inspiration, intuition, maybe what the chapter calls the sixth sense, or a message from infinite intelligence.
Like sudden ideas popping into your head.
Pretty much. And the instruction is critical. Act on these inspirations immediately.
Don't ignore them or put them off.
Right. Hesitation can be detrimental.
This ties back to the fourth step, creating a plan and acting on it.
It does, but it adds a caution. Don't rely only on logical reasoning for your plan.
Why not?
Because reason can be faulty, it says, or even lazy. Sometimes you need to trust that intuition more.
And there's another detail about the visualization.
Yes, very important. When you visualize the money.
You also have to visualize what you're giving in return.
Precisely. Visualize rendering the service or delivering the merchandise. That exchange, that value proposition is essential.
So it's not just about receiving, it's about the give and take.
Absolutely. Grounds it in reality and contribution.
Okay, then the chapter moves into a summary of instructions. It addresses the reader as a student.
Yes, emphasizing humility and the need to follow all the instructions. No picking and choosing.
Warns that partial effort leads to failure. You need consistent action and faith.
Right. It stresses complete commitment to the whole process.
So, step 1 of the combined approach.
Find a quiet place, like bed at night. Close your eyes. Repeat your written statement aloud.
The statement with the amount, the time frame, the service offered.
Exactly. And while repeating it, visualize yourself already having achieved it. See the money. Feel the success.
And it gives that example, right? $50,000 in 5 years as a salesman.
It does. A concrete template. State the goal, the time, the service. Affirm belief. Visualize possession. Commit to following the plan that emerges.
Makes it very practical. Okay, step 2.
Repeat this whole program. The words, the feeling, the visualization, every night and every morning.
Consistency again.
Crucial. Keep doing it until the visualization of the money or outcome feels completely real in your imagination.
And step 3.
Write the statement down. Place it where you'll see it night and morning.
Like on the bathroom mirror or nightstand.
Somewhere visible, yeah. and read it aloud before sleep and upon waking until it's memorized.
Constant reinforcement.
Visual and verbal. Keeps it top of mind.
And following these 3 steps is how you apply autosuggestion, giving orders to the subconscious.
That's the core idea. These are the actions that constitute giving those orders.
And it reminds us again,
That the subconscious only acts on emotionalized instructions, delivered with feeling.
with faith being the strongest emotion.
The most effective, yes. It points back to the faith chapter again for emphasis.
What if this all feels a bit abstract or impractical at first?
The chapter anticipates that. It urges you not to be deterred by skepticism.
Just do it anyway.
Yes. Proceed with the instructions in spirit and action. It promises a whole new universe of power if you persist,
Acknowledges skepticism is natural with new ideas.
but assures that belief, and eventually absolute faith, will develop through consistent practice.
And that's when you become master of your fate, captain of your soul.
That's the connection it makes, taking control of the inner world to shape the outer.
Why is this mastery possible, according to the text?
It explains that while many have talked about self-mastery, this method works because you can influence the subconscious.
And gain cooperation from infinite intelligence.
That's the term used, suggesting access to a larger resource through this inner alignment.
In this chapter, autosuggestion is called the keystone.
Yes, the absolute keystone of the whole philosophy presented. Understanding and applying it is crucial for transmuting desire into money, or any goal.
So autosuggestion isn't just one principle among many.
It's the agency, the mechanism for reaching and influencing the subconscious. The other principles are tools to apply autosuggestion effectively.
Got it. So keep autosuggestion central in your mind throughout.
That's the advice. Be conscious of its role.
And the final advice is about attitude.
Approach it with childlike faith. Trust the process. Believe the instructions are practical and helpful.
And there's one last big instruction.
Yes. After finishing the whole book, reread this chapter on autosuggestion aloud. Every night.
Every single night. Why?
To become thoroughly convinced of its soundness and power. To really let it sink in.
And it suggests underlining sentences that resonate.
Yes, engage actively. Mark what feels right. The promise is that following this final instruction diligently,
Leads to complete understanding and mastery of all the success principles.
that's the claim. It's presented as the final step to locking it all in.
Okay, wow. So wrapping up this deep dive, autosuggestion is presented as this core method, influencing the subconscious through your own thoughts, senses, words.
But supercharged with emotion, especially faith.
Right. Key takeaways are controlling dominant thoughts, the garden analogy, the need for feeling, persistence.
That burning obsession focus.
Acting on inspiration and those specific steps. Write it, say it, visualize it, feel it, repeat it, morning and night.
And remembering that exchange. Visualizing the service or motion dice too. It's a blend of practical psychology and, well, something more philosophical.
Mastering the inner dialogue to access maybe a greater potential.
Yeah, that seems to be the underlying message.
Which brings us to that final thought for you, the learner. How might consciously directing your dominant thoughts, really feeling your goals, how could that change your approach?
One small thing, one concrete action you could take today to start applying this principle of autosuggestion, even just defining a desire clearly.
Or spending 2 minutes visualizing. What seed, as you said, will you plant in that subconscious garden right now?
It's about shifting from passive wishing to active mental cultivation.
Definitely food for thought. And we can confirm we've covered the ground here. All the main ideas, the examples, the instructions, the key details from this chapter on autosuggestion are included.
Yep, nothing skipped. We've broken down the core concepts and the practical takeaways as presented in the source.
Thanks for joining us for this exploration.